favorite topic, and you wanted to know this, right?
Right.
Okay. So the very basic and simple question: why we need security? In general term, let's not relate to a technology or software. Why we need security? Well, to protect our resource, right or not? Irrespective of any resource, it could be our home utensils, home resources, software resources, amount, bank money, or whatever. This security is required wherever you have a doubt or you feel not confident that the resources are safer. There we need a security. We used to put lock in our home. We used to put lock in our room. The reason we want the things kept in that box or in the, what I can say, tijori, that what lockers, yeah. So that needs to be safe. In fact, I remember when I was in childhood, my mom used to put lock in fridge also because she feels that whatever sweets are there, if I kept there, definitely he's going to finish in 1 or 2 days, sometime in half day. So yeah, so wherever you have a scariness or you have a doubt that something can be stolen, something can be misused, you need a security. And further in technology, in a more technical term, it is like authentication, and second term is a authorization. So let's talk about the authentication. A Spring framework is, I can't say modern framework or recent framework, but yes, it is not a legacy kind of framework. It is before Spring Security also people used to manage the complete their authentication mechanism and authorization mechanism by the projects. But there, what they have to do is they have to play around with the servlet, JSP, and defining their own user module. So I have been working in one of the project. They were having a separate module called user module, and under that module they have to define a role whenever anybody wants to access that project. From UI, they have to map the right role. They have to give the right access. These all things are going to be managed with one of the UI. So people have to manage all these things uh, with their projects. So in any company, if you go when they were using the legacy project, the one project they used to start with is the authentication and authorization module. There they have a user module, and that user module is going to be integrated in any of their application. And right administrator is having the options, so which user they can set to which roles and which kinds of access. Well, so in security, uh, when we were in the servlet, usually authentication is going to be done by the session tracking techniques. I hope you know that. So we have HTTP session, we have cookies, we have what I can say, URL rewriting. You have a form, hidden form fields. These are the four techniques with that people used to manage the authentication kinds of things. They used to define one table in the database having the all details of that login user, and then after they're going to check whenever the user is going to log in whether the username and password is going to match or not. So this was the basic authentication. Then authorization. This is also one of the very important point to understand. Many people have a confusion on authentication and authorization. Authentication is saying you whether you are a right user of this system or not. Are you a right user? Yes, then give me your credential. System will go and check the username and password into their database. And if they found this is going to be matched, then they're saying, okay, authentication is done. Now, authorization. Even though you are a right user for that system, you have a right roles to access this resource or not. So in industry, there is a layer of users. We have employee, we have a HR, we have a managers, we have a CEO, we have a CTO, we have what I can say, director. These are the people, and these peoples are having some special privilege associated with their roles. So the data which CEO can access, same cannot be accessed by the HR or the normal employee. So even though he's a part of that system, he has the username password associated with that table. But when one normal employee is trying to access, see the budgets of company for a particular financial year, they cannot access this. When they try to access, he's supposed to get a response saying that you are not authorized. They will be authenticated, but the response will be coming in that case. He is not right to access that. That's called 403, and that is comes under you are not authorized, unauthorized. So there is a status code for unauthorized called 403. But the beauty of Spring Security is it is providing you the both authentication and authorization. So when we were in the beginning version of Spring Framework, Spring Security is a separate module itself. And since now this day everybody is moving around the Spring Boot kinds of a structure, then the Spring Security complex configurations, because in initial days you have to write a XML file, then you need a lots of libraries associated with that, then you have to do configuration, all these things. But a Spring Security, a Spring Boot, as you know, it's pretty simple in configuration. In fact, you don't need to maintain any additional XML file. Everything is going to manage with the properties file itself. So Spring Security is providing authentication and authorization. When I talk about authentication, then authentication is having the different types like in-memory authentication, JDBC authentication, LDAP. LDAP is again authorization. Now this day we have a auth 2, where the authorization is mainly taking between the two microservices. Whenever data is exchanging between two microservices, then auth 2 is one of the protocol I can say, and it is going to be very popular now this day in the world of microservices. So we will be seeing that as well.
So
So
ought to be used for authorization, right?
yes, yes,
Only for authorization and not for authentication.
auth 2 is completely for authorization.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact LDAP, SML, all these things are for authorization module. Okay, so in under Spring Security, authentication and authorization we're gonna see, and one of the other library called ThemeLeaf. Have you heard about it? Like this library, ThemeLeaf?
No.
Okay. Have you heard about JSP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Java
So
server page, right?
right. So what is the uniqueness in the JSP page is it can hold HTML code along with your Java code, right? You can write some set of business logic also in the JSP. Similarly, ThemeLeaf is one kind of modern server-side Java template engine, and this is very much useful, and people used to frequently use this library in a Spring Security model to defining a lots of security stuffs, because in UI side also you have to write some set of logics to display this data, display this page or not, kinds of things. So JSP now these days people are not using. So you consider this is a kinds of template engine where you are going to feed the data. Okay, so slowly you will understand it. But if you want to enable a Spring Security in any of your application, then the only thing you have to do is add one libraries of Spring Boot starter security. So if I copy this, and whatever example we have seen so far, it could be a simple content negotiation we have seen yesterday, right? Okay, let me run this project. Mhm. So this is the content negotiation, Balab. So I'm trying to run this project. This is running on 8080. What is the URL? Employee. So localhost 8080. Hmm. Tomcat started on 8080. Then this guy should respond me. Something wrong? No. Surprise. Test controller. Run as Java application. Tomcat started on 8080. Page cannot work. Is something problem with my browser, or I really don't understand it? What happened? It is saying slash is not found. Okay. Do I need to directly hit the slash employee? Localhost 8080 slash employee. Oh, cool. So it is working. It is working, but there was no slash added homepage. That's the reason it was not responding. Well, so what I gonna do here? I will be simply adding a Spring Boot dependency here. Nothing else, just security. If I add Spring Security and I will start this application, the basic authentication has been automatically embedded into your application without doing any additional configuration, without doing any additional code written. It is going to be work very simply by adding this particular dependency. So let it be completed. Then I can show you probably how the basic and default page of Spring Security looks like. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, let me run as Maven clean. Run as Maven install. And then I'm going to run this application again. Go to this page and try hitting the same URL. What is wrong? There's definitely something wrong. Tomcat started, that's fine. Localhost. What is going on? Hmm. 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 Spring initializer. Let me go there. Let it be everything default. Java 8. I'm adding web. I'm adding Spring Security. That's all I'm doing. Generate. Let me remove this. Close all. So go to downloads. Here is the demo one. Extract to demo. Spring boot run. No, what is the command actually? Spring boot. Just for running purpose from CLI to create all these things, fine. Spring run. Spring is not recognized as internal or external command. Anyway,
In the starting of the document, there is something I've seen
that is for
just
CLI. CLI. I have to do everything with the help of Maven here, and I don't have set the Maven path here. It's a Maven project, no, that's the reason. Browse, downloads, select folder. This thing already it's having, so I'm going to say test. Here trunk, cut out this one. Now finish. Let this guy come. Where it went, this one, right? Trunk. Right click, run as Maven clean. Run as Maven install. Meanwhile, I gonna create one controller. Class hello controller package the source is not a Java project. Okay, until now this is not going to be imported properly. I cannot. Okay, so for quick start, let me check how this is going to behave. I just added the one security wala dependencies, and based upon that, I'm expecting the default authentication has been added by the Spring Security.
Okay, but did you not create the controller?
Not mandatory, right? For running this application, we don't need controller, right?
Okay.
Controller is required whenever you have some sort of URL or request coming. Okay, so this
So
time,
then what you are okay directly on the port we can.
yes. So look at this page is coming to you. I didn't did anything, just added the Spring Security dependency, and I really don't know why this guy is not responding. Ideally, by adding a Spring Security, if you look at this form.xml file, this guy is just having the wave and the security, nothing else. And since I have added that, because of that, the basic authentication has been created, the basic configuration and code also written by the Spring Security guy, and you're getting this default login page. Not only that, if you have noticed that while building, this guy looking for username and password. So Spring Security is giving you some sort of password also to access this. And username is user itself. Okay? Click on sign in. Since we don't have any homepage URL mapping, no controller, so you will get the default white label error page. Can see that? It means it is spawning because there is no mapping for homepage right now in your application. That is the reason it's not coming. But if I go here and I create one controller, new, other, class, hello controller, click on finish, annotate this guy with at the rate of REST controller, public string get hello, and here you can use at the rate of get mapping or request mapping. This is up to you. I'm just giving the home page. Okay, and here I'm returning the welcome to Spring Security. One second, huh? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is again restarting this application. I'm again restarting this application to get the first mapping response, which is my home page. And every time this guy is going to change the password for you. Okay, so this time this is the password. Again, try refreshing this page. Give the user and give the password. Click on sign in. And can you see that? Welcome to Spring Security. So basic authentication has nothing to do with the Spring Security. Just add the dependency. Now, if you want your own username password, then what you can do is spring dot security dot username equal to whatever you want to give, you give that. And similarly, you can give for password XYZ. So if you give this username and password, then I'm expecting if this key is proper, then Spring is going to take your username and password. It means something is wrong. Let me search in other file. Properties. Spring Security. Not this. Spring Login Master. Where are you, security? Not even this. Any one of this is, I can quickly Google it. How to change default username and password in Spring Boot. So this property I'm looking actually. Oh, yes. User.name, something I was missing here. I told you, no? So where is my properties? ABC. And password is XYZ. So with that, I'm not having dev tool enabled right now. So I have to again restart. If you have a dev tool enabled, then you don't need to every time restart it, because automatically this guy is going to pick up. Yep. So it's at pick up. Now go and refresh this page. Whatever username you have given, whatever password you have given, just try signing it and you will be able to see that. So my idea is to show you Spring Security is not a rocket science. It is pretty simple in a Spring Boot. But in ideal scenario, you don't need this. Mostly application is using the single sign-in, or they have LDAP kinds of implementation. They have a Okta. Now there's for authentication, there is lots of options.
Is like Okta is used for authentication only?
Yeah, Okta is for authentication. You need to pass some OTP and all. You remember in the Okta. Have you logged in with Okta anytime?
Even organizations now they're using Okta single sign-on.
Yeah, so I think Okta is for authentication.
Spelling.
Okay, right?
Hmm.
Okta. Cross software company authentication. Yes. So this is for authentication.
So all the user data will be at Okta side,
Yes.
and
Yeah. Exactly. So now based upon this understanding, let's try understanding how
one
I have.
more question. What is
Yeah.
SAML?
There is a SAML also. Yes.
What is
SAM,
SAML?
SAML is a security assertion markup language, open standard for authentication and authorization. So it's a kinds of XML kinds of things. There's lots of you have to do that. Even I never work on this, but some of the
Old technology.
organization using this.
I
Yeah,
think this is legacy.
yeah. It's a XML based. You can see that, and wherever the XML based is coming, people are start ignoring that. So you consider this is going to be now legacy.
Right.
Okay. Any more question?
No. So basically, okay. Now I think we'll go deeper into this and
Yes.
we'll see.
Yes. So now what I want to design, I want to design a simple page which is going to have a separate role associated with that user and admin kinds of role in high level. So if you look at this application, let me run it first, then probably you can understand it better.
So I can see that you have HTML pages also in the Spring Boot.
These pages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, right? Because without giving the sometimes you don't want this login page UI, right? Whatever you have seen default login page, that's very simple. People want their fancy login page. They want some
Right, but
bootstrap kinds
in,
of things.
in these applications, what we do is we always depend on the REST service URL to authenticate, and if it is success, then we'll get some response back from the REST service in a JSON or something.
Mhm.
Then based on that, we will prepare our own UI, right? Instead of having HTML pages in the Spring Boot application.
Yeah, that's a standard. But what you have to create an application which is going to provide the authentication page. Think about that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a requirement that somebody is going to give you a request and you have to give the login page. It is also a Spring security, right? And that project is also a Spring Boot project. So think in that perspective. Someone have to develop that page to make you give the HTML page. But in ideal scenario, this is going to be a separate microservices for UI like Angular or React, whatever it is there, which is going to bring. But if it is a small kinds of UI for login purpose, then instead why we'll go with the Angular project and let's make it a inbuilt HTML.
Okay.
So here my intention is just to show you and demonstrate you this HTML page is coming from where that is not a that is not very important, rather than it's important how this guy is handling this. So ThemeLeaf is coming to make this HTML available in the Spring Boot. If you have the option of designing the UI in the Angular, then probably ThemeLeaf is not required. ThemeLeaf is mainly compatible with the Spring Boot project, and that is the reason people wants to do some sort of coding in the UI also. So the responsibility, if you look at this code, I have a footer. So look at this piece of code. Your UI developer cannot write this piece of code. He don't know this. What is this sec authorization, authenticated, all these things. He can only map your URL, and whatever payload you will ask, they will provide you that. They can give a fancy UI with the bootstrap and all these things. But this piece of code he cannot write. So somewhere the Java developer itself have to do. The Spring developer have to manage all these things. We'll talk
So
about it.
basically, but we can do send all this in a response, right? If an authentication is success, then then the developer can create is UI based on this information, right? This
Okay,
thing
so
is an alternative.
maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying. So you're saying as a Spring Boot application, I will just pass the username and password. This is what you're saying.
Mhm.
But how will you?
Not
Uh-huh.
like that.
uh,
See, as a Spring Boot application, I wanted my Spring Boot code only to have the Java code or other things, and remaining UI part, HTML, everything should be handled in the React or Angular application.
mhm.
And all my Spring Boot should do is when you give a username and password, if it is success, then
How
it should
how
give
how how will you give username and password? By REST call?
um, yeah, REST call.
Okay, so you will be
So
hitting
using
this.
a REST call, using a REST call, I'll hit this Spring Boot application with username and password, and it will give me the necessary roles and log
Okay, so
full user
so
in
somewhere,
the response.
huh, that is fine. That you can do. Yes, I got your point. So you're saying you have a separate UI project which is bringing the login page. I will ask the username and password, right? And it is going to hit this Spring Boot application, and this guy will tell me the whether success or failure. Yes or no?
Yeah, if it is this, it will return the necessary details like this, what we are seeing on the screen, like role, what is his role, and username, full name, etc.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes. Yeah. I got your point. Yeah, that can be easily done. Yeah, but see, for this is required when you are developing a very fancy and completely real time. For a training
right,
and understanding purpose, you consider this
huh,
HTML page is from third party or your own. That's not make sense. My intention is to
right,
make you to understand the configuration, how a Spring Boot is working
yeah, I
in
got it. Yeah,
security. You got it, right? So if you
yeah.
want, then I can easily move this piece
For
of code in
real-time
the Angular.
application, I'm thinking about
Yes.
only real-time. So in
Yeah.
real-time application, so that will be the scenario, right? So
Yes. Got your point. Yes. But here I have designed just for giving a Spring security training, not including the UI stuffs a lot. And if for me, many times the students are coming with just a fresher, they don't have much idea. So if I make a complexity like creating another project and then integrating it, all these things, they are much confused, So I have to just show them in one page where the HTML page is, from where the response are coming back. So all these things I have to show in the same projects. So they are getting a better understanding. I can understand
okay,
your experience, guys, so you can understand it easily if I integrate it with the separate UI application. But here, I have to deal with the many students who don't even uh, know that how the microservices are communicating. And if I make it
okay,
as a separate UI, then they completely
uh,
gone from where this HTML page came up.
right,
That's the
understood.
reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So I have ran this project, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to 8080. Let's hit this page again. So this is the one of the UI coming to you. We have an admin page, we have a user page, we have a normal page. So if you click on normal page, it is don't require any login page, any login needed. And we have the situation, right? In your website also you have a lots of information, but somebody wants to know the about your company, or somebody want to click on help. We don't need authentication for that. If somebody wants to put a uh, inquiry, for that we don't need the login kinds of things. So in every application we have these kinds of things. Then we have it two kinds of user. One is admin, one is user. High level we have it two kinds of role, admin and user. So once you click on user page, I'm expecting people have to pass me the username and password, which is for admin. And after login as a admin, again you will be coming back and you try clicking on admin page. I want that. You will be getting a response saying that, hey, you are not authorized to see that. You will see the 403 page. You will not say 401. Let's say right now I'm giving something wrong here. So you will be getting the invalid username and password. This makes meaning is your authentication is failed. But when you will get 403, it means you have a authorization failure. So this is the idea. I will be having a user page, normal page, admin page, and normal page. Normal page is don't require any authentication. User and admin page need authentication with different set of credentials. So now coming back to the code, the first and most important things what I did is I have defined my 403 HTML page. So whenever there is a access denied or unauthorization, then I gonna bring this page which is saying access denied, and here I'm printing the remote user taking from the HTTP servlet request and giving these sort of messages that you don't have permission to access this page. So this is the page I want to bring you when there is a unauthorization. Footer, as per the standard of UI, we have a footer which is just having the sign out kinds of option. If you click on that, there is a slash logout, and this is going to be checked first whether the user is authenticated or not, because until unless he's not login, that's not make sense to log out. And similarly, we have a header. Header is having the Spring Boot home and whatever you have seen. If you're clicking on a Spring Boot, it is bringing you the home page, and if you click on home again, it is bringing to the home page itself. Okay, so now we have about, which I told you it's a normal page. You don't need to provide any credential for this. Admin page is here, which is going to be authenticated. So look at this. I'm just bringing the remote user, and then I'm saying make the enable form of sign out. So once admin is coming, this page have to come. When we have user.html, normal user is login, then this page is going to come. Home.html is just having these three options which you have seen just now, and that's all. We don't have, and login.html, our own username and passwords. So here, if you click on sign in, I'm going to hit this login. And I hope you have worked, the UI code, right, Hemant?
Yes.
Basic, So these are all containers and also I'm using because it's a bootstrap kind of live project. So it's having the bootstrap. So everything is fancy and we don't need to give lots of CSS kinds of stuff. Well, and if anything is wrong, then I'm going to get this invalid username and password. To get this all validation done, all this, etc., you need to write a lots of piece of code. But with the help of ThemeLeaf, it becomes very easy. You are having the some sort of logic here. If parameters is having some errors, it means authentication is failed, and you're gonna get this message invalid username and password. Similarly, if params is log out, then you are saying you have been logged out successfully. So these all data, params and all is going to be accessible directly with the ThemeLeaf library. So we don't need to pass anything extra like this. Now, coming to the controller side, one is home page, no need authentication. Then if you click slash home or slash, both are going to bring you the home.html. We have an admin, which is going to give you the admin page, which is having user, which is going to give user page. Then we have a about, login, and 403, which is slash error and 403. So these are the endpoints we have composed for this application. Slash admin user about login and 403. Come to the configuration, which is the main part which you need to understand. A Spring Boot is providing you one adapter. But before going to this area, I want to focus on the first application which you have seen, Hello Controller, right? After adding this, simply a Spring security dependency in the pom.xml file, how a Spring Boot is able to bring the login page directly, where it is adding that piece of code. Do you have idea about that? You remember yesterday I was talking about filter. Filter is a kind of interceptor. which is intercepting your request and response both. So the moment you have added a Spring security dependencies, then a Spring Boot application has added one filter. That filter is going to intercept each coming request, whether you have noticed or not. Let me again run this application. Probably you will understand it better now. So the moment a Spring security has been added into your dependencies, this guy is going to add some sort of filter. And what this guy is saying to you, try understanding that also. Somewhere, notice application context. Yes, default security filter chain. Can you see that? And this is async. Async in the sense another thread is going to bring this. Whenever any request is coming now, this default security filter chain is intercepting that request and saying that bring whatever logic this guy has written. So I suppose to show you one more project for interceptor, how interceptor works. I have this. After Spring security, I will show you this also, how a Spring interceptor is working. So interceptor, consider it is just like a filter for you. Without filter, you cannot achieve the interceptor. Spring Boot people has given the fancy name called interceptor, but actually the legacy name of this is filter itself, and which is purely a Java servlet filter. So Java servlet filter is going to intercept all incoming requests. The moment it found that Spring security is added, this guy has registered this filter and he's making sure that whatever URL is coming, I will be going to intercept. So if I press something like this, somewhere I have seen it was saying that I will be intercepting the all request coming slash star star. So that part I'm looking into this, which is indicating after the slash, whatever request URL is coming, I will be intercepting that. So this is how the internal engine of Spring Security is working based upon this default security filter chain. And that makes sense also, right? When you want the login page to come, whenever the first request is coming to your application, and we need some mechanism by which we can actually stop that incoming request and push my additional logic. So first fulfill that logic. If you satisfied me, then I will be allowing you to go to the right resource or right controller. Okay. Okay. So this is the important part. You remember Hemant, because sometimes people used to ask in interview how Spring Security is intercepting. So you just tell there is a default filter chain. Well, coming to our configuration. So you remember adapter is playing a role of interceptor here. So I have created my own configuration file. If you are in the pure Spring Security framework or module, then this Java file is going to convert it into one of the XML file. But we are in Spring Boot where everything is going to be managed in the Java code and the properties file. But in ideal scenario, wherever you have a pure Spring Security, this complete content is going to be in the spring-security.xml. So now what I'm doing here, first things, access denied handler. If you look at this access denied handler, this is one of the library which is saying whenever anything went wrong, I mean unauthorized, then where to send the response. This is only for that purpose. But now try understanding all the configuration of this page to understand Spring Security in Spring Boot. The root element of this Spring Security is HTTP security library. This guy is having a completely inline way of writing your logic for complete configuration. What are those configurations? First of all, CSRF. You know CSRF? Cross-site request forgery. Have you heard about it, Hemant?
I heard, but not sure what it is.
Okay. So this is one of the what I can say hacking techniques. So by which what exactly hackers is going to do? They are going to send the session ID along with the cookies data. So I remember this CSRF was enabled in a Spring framework after 3.2, if I'm not wrong. And we were using the Spring 2.5. Their CSRF was not by default configuration of the Spring Security. So our company has decided to write our own custom CSRF implementation. So there I have to design a system in such a way that every time I have to pass one token from server side, and we are expecting the same token with every incoming request. And that token is going to be validated by my internal algorithm, that is MD5 or some sort of algorithm we have written. So CSRF is simply saying how you can protect your page by someone is cloning your session data and the cookies data and trying to make a call on the behalf of you. So this can be easily stopped when server is sending some set of token and expecting that same token is coming, which is completely encrypted in format. And this token is going to be validated with each request. And the technique is it is going to be hidden in your UI. Nobody can see that passing over the network. Okay. So now, so this was one of the hot topic and hot problem with the every company. So Spring Security people has decided to make it as a default. Still, you have a option for enable and disable. You know, so we have a enable option, we have a disable option. Where is the enable? Enable is not there. I think disable is there. So if you don't want CSRF to be disabled, then you can remove this directly. This whole part you can disable. You can remove. But it is always advisable when you are playing with the Spring Security, then make sure that CSRF is disabled. If it is disabled, then the any hackers cannot clone your cookies and session ID and make a request on the behalf of you. So this is for disabling the CSRF. Then authorize request. We are saying I want to authorize my request. This method is just simply saying high level, I will be authorizing the all incoming requests. Then this will ask you what kind of request you want to authorize. So there is three matcher I have given. First matcher I have given //home /about. If any of these three URL is coming, permit all, then you have to give a permission. You don't need to ask for any authentication. Next matcher is if anybody is coming /admin and after that anything is there, you just check whether that user is having the admin role or not. Similarly for user, any request is starting with /user and after that anything is there, check a role whether this guy is having the user role or not. And then after I'm saying any request authenticated with this any and matcher which is having the has role have to be authenticated. Now Spring Security will ask you, do you have your own login form or you want to bring my own default login form? So most of the case, people are not preferred the default login page. So that I have added an form login and given my own login page. So the moment you will give /login, it will be automatically finding the login.html file inside your application and that page is going to be come. Once login part is success, then it is going to say permit all. If login is
So
validated,
how are we going to handle that if it is an enterprise application, like in real time? Now that we have login page, it is okay, but in real time, we'll not have that option, right? Login page will be outside separate, right?
Mhm. Okay. In real time also, you have the URL at least. This URL you have to give. So in real time, what gonna happen? Slash login, it is coming to the default controller. This default controller is going to give the right path of your microservices or UI wherever it is sitting. So actually login page is coming from here, that login.html. So this controller, till this configuration you have to give. There is no change, doesn't matter your login page is sitting inside your application or somewhere else. This is the URL from where to get the login page. So this slash login is coming to your controller, and this guy is giving you the right path. Where is the actually login page? Now think about how this is gonna work, even though you have a separate UI. So you are running your UI, you will be hitting your slash home page, right? The slash home page is going to give the link of your login page. Are you trying to understand? The problem is you don't went to the Spring MVC. That's the reason you are getting slight confusion. In fact, you can render how MVC is working. Every time this guy is going to give the model and view and controller. But in the REST call, yes, somebody have to give the URL for which the username and password have to be authenticated. Confused, Hemant?
Mm, kind of, but yeah, let's go. We'll see with later.
Yeah.
Correct.
See, Spring Boot is providing both the things, MVC also and REST also.
Right,
When you are dealing with MVC, this is the approach you have to take,
right.
because where you have a view. When it is a complete REST call, then
Like
somebody have. Mhm,
I understood that, but
mhm,
maybe if we see about token based authentication and all, right,
mhm.
then maybe I'll understand.
Yeah,
Because if we're dealing with the explicit UI and Spring Boot separately as a REST service, then definitely we have to go with the token based authentication of it, right?
yeah, I'm saying you see, if even though you have a separate microservices, then somebody is clicking on login, then you have to give a URL that is nothing but your /login.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give
No.
/login there in your separate UI project, then it is a interceptor. First of all, this guy will be checking whether you have a login or not. Whatever he has given for a login page URL, you have to give the same thing in your different project also. Then only it will be mapped and it will be bringing you the logic for authentication. Okay.
Mm.
So then after you have a logout, permit all means yes, do a logout for everyone, and exception handling. If anywhere the exception occurs, or you have a 403 kinds of stuffs, then we are saying access denied handler. And for this access denied handler, I have created my own custom class, which is having the implementation of access denied handler. And here I have overridden the handle method. So anything went wrong, I'm checking that what is the username, get that username, and then after what I'm doing, I'm getting the request URI and redirecting this guy to the 403 page. So this work is going to be done if there is any unauthorized access of your application. So that is the reason I have this access denied auto wired here. We also have a configure global, which is going to be automatically called by this guy when there is a authenticated call. Whenever there is a authenticated method call, internally this is going to call the configure global method. So now here you have to take a call what kind of authentication you want. So for a simplicity, I have taken a in-memory authentication, but you also have a JDBC. So you can see there in memory is there, then JDBC authentication is there, LDAP authentication is there. There are different kinds of authentication you can take according to your requirement. But here I have taken the in memory first. So what I am doing that I am providing the username, this one role user, and username password for admin roles. So whenever
Okay.
this
Usually we go with some JDBC authentication, right?
sorry,
Usually we go with JDBC authentication
yes,
where we have human
yes,
password.
yes,
Or if it
yes,
is Okta, then we have
Okta related
Okta.
configuration. Yes.
Oh, we have a method for Okta also, or is there
uh,
any generic method for search?
I never explored it, but yes, definitely there is a way. A Spring Boot security with Okta. Definitely, there must be something for related to Okta also. Okta auth. Let's move ahead. Configuration. This is for basic in-memory authentication. Configure form login. Blah blah blah. Theme leaf. Whatever we are discussing right now.
So there seems like there is an import statement there.
Where?
For just scroll up. Uh, the top, yeah, here in this class. See there in the imports. Oh, package. Sorry.
Hmm. They might be the down. I'm bringing it there. Hold on. This is the one you might be talking. I'll also open and reconnect. So for this configuration, we are providing the details in the properties file or YAML file. And then after we have some sort of dependencies. And here is the controller. I'm looking for configuration for this guy. Oh, I think this all can be done with the help of auth2 itself. Okay, got it. So it is similar like a Google or Facebook or something like that. I have that example. The URL client ID and secret ID you have to change. Then this
Uh-huh.
guy will be going to do the authentication on the behalf of you. Okay, so I have that example. I will be showing you now. So here you understood, right? How this configuration is. What is the purpose of each methods in inbuilt methods?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have access denied handler. We have talked about it. So now let's try running this application and see how this is behaving. Okay. So let's come to the Spring Boot project first, and I'm going with the user login first. For user, I have a size user, if I'm not wrong. What is my configuration? Size and upicket. U underscore pick underscore upicket. And yes, user page Spring Security Protected, hello size user. So this is one of the role user page which you have seen right now. I'm not clicking on sign out, rather than I'm going to the home page and trying to hit the admin page. So my expectation is this user is not an admin role holder. So this supposed to get a 403 wala page. And let's click on this. Correct. So 403 access is denied. So saying hello size user, you do not have permission to access this page. Okay. Similarly, I'm going to this page and again clicking on sign out. You haven't signed out, and going to the admin page, giving the admin and you underscore picket. You underscore picket. So we are in the admin page this time. So this is saying Spring Security Protected admin page. When admin is going to the user page, he is also getting the 403. So now it depends on you. If you want that admin can access the normal user page, then you can define a roles, comma separated, I believe. Yes, it is taking a var args. So you know the Java var args, variable arguments. You know that? 3 dots, Hemant?
Spread where
You know the meaning of this 3 dots?
array, it will take an array, right?
Kinds of array, but it is a standard name of this is a variable arguments. So you can pass a number of parameters which you want. So if you give comma user also, then this admin will be start looking into the user page also. And this is a very basic and simple steps with a Spring Boot security.